I'm grateful to have a space to share my own personal journey and struggles with that and how I've been set free from it. And my hope is to, encourage other individuals in the next generation to do the same, because I think it's way more common than we're led to believe. And yeah, I want people to know that there is freedom from it. We just have to talk about it, and that's how we can get through it together.
What was the focus as it relates to public health?
In my research?
Yeah.
So I did research on the relationship between mental health and nutrition status for female college athletes and the impact of an interprofessional approach.
Tell me more. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it was really cool. Essentially, what we were looking at is, there are a lot of programs out there now that do provide this interprofessional approach of multiple different disciplines for college athletes. I think it's something that we're talking a lot more about now. Unfortunately, there are still programs out there that don't have all these resources available. Where I did my doctoral degree is at Stanford University, and they didn't have as many medical providers on staff at the time. And so it was a great place to get to do that research. And basically what we found is what you would expect, that we need all these different professionals. We need dietitians, we need therapists, we need the PTs and the MDs to really care for this person as a whole. Yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Were you working with Emily Krause over there? Was she involved at all?
I'm not familiar with her.
She heads up the sports med department with a focus on youth athletes.
Okay, very cool.
Maybe a little bit younger, but out of Stanford. So this is the kind of thing that intuitively makes sense. So it's awesome that the research supports the fact that what we think is true is in fact true, that if you give somebody resources, they are better. But tangibly, what would that look like in practice, where you had a hypothesis that if you do this, then that? Tell me more about that, because I find that piece so fascinating, that we have this research. Why aren't we using it?
Yeah.
Or are we using it?
I think most programs now see it and are using it, which is such a wonderful thing. And I think specifically thinking about mental health, that's such an area that was underutilized, but I think now is really being spoken about and tapped into. And the difference we see is, student athlete well-being and just human being well-being, because we're caring for them in a way that is not just about the times they run or the weights they throw or whatever that might be. It's really about them becoming the best version of themselves in college and then graduate too. And I, in my own journey could see the difference too from different programs that I went through, and the way that they utilize that interprofessional approach for even myself, I think really obviously spurred on the desire to do this research later on.
What can someone listening take away from it who's maybe not in a college program right now, but they're a runner and mental health matters?
I think it takes a team approach. I tell my clients all the time, they are working with me, on their nutrition and on their overall wellness, but specifically the main thing we are targeting is their diet. And I encourage them hey, you need to get a PT involved. You need to get your MD involved. You need to get your therapist counselor involved, because that is really what's going to help you fine tune and become the best version of yourself. And asking for help is never a sign of weakness. I think it's absolutely a sign of strength, and we all need all the help that we can get in this life. So I would encourage people, find those professionals who are willing to help and support you on this journey, because they're there and that's what they're doing and why they're doing it.
So a lot of that is the person has to be ready and willing and actually ask for that help. You said that you like working with clients in a relatable manner where you can demonstrate, your own journey and your story to them, and they can connect with that. So for you, what was it that led to you reaching out and asking for help that has now catapulted you into a place where you can be helping others?
That's a great question. I just knew I reached a point where I, not just physically, but mentally was not my best self. I practically could see, when we look at running, my time's getting slower. So that was a really big sign for me. But also just mentally, I was overthinking things. I was just anxious. And I think those red flags I started to really see time and time again. And gratefully, I had loved ones who cared a lot for me, who could see those things as well and point them out to me. And so I would say those things together is what ultimately led me to seek help. And praise be to God that I did, because it changed my life. And I'm grateful to be in a position that now hopefully I can do the same for others as well.
Tangibly, what did you do? And I ask these questions because I'm guessing that there are people listening that perhaps are a little earlier in their journey than you are right now. And so hearing the play-by-play might be helpful in helping one person move forward with that.
Yeah, I think for me, the area I knew I needed the most help with pretty much right away was with my nutrition. So I, was Googling dietitians near me. I think now, it's so great that we have social media as such a great place to go and look for different people who you can really establish that like, know, and trust factor through. So I'd encourage you, like, don't be afraid if there's an area that you recognize, you need extra help in, like, look for those people. They are there, whether they are in your city or they're remote. There's a lot of wonderful resources out there. So the web can be a great place to begin, just with a quick Google or Instagram search, whatever it is.
And so when did you decide that you wanted to open your own business and help others?
I always knew ultimately I wanted to open my own practice. I will say that after having my first baby, the journey started a little bit quicker than what I thought. I really, after having my son, was like, I want to be able to have autonomy in my work so that I can be with my kid and do my work as well. And so that's kind of when I was like, all right, let's see if we can make this work. I was in a clinical position at the time and started just doing some things on the side, some different like nutrition challenges, and kind of putting some teasers out on social media just to see if it would catch and if I would even enjoy it. And my husband, being an entrepreneur as well, kind of gave me that bug. And I joke that he's my business coach, and he says, no, you're not. But truly, he really, really is. And he helped me, get my business off the ground. So yeah, that's kind of how it got started. I didn't know a lot about what I was doing, still have a lot to learn, but it's been really cool doing it now for over a year, seeing things evolve, and the clientele that I've been able to care and serve for has been absolutely amazing.
It's super cool. And I've worked with a handful of dietitians over the years, and it's just like we all eat, and so we all think we know what we're doing, but there's so much more to it, right?
100%. Yeah.
So for people who haven't worked with a dietitian, what does that process look like?
Yeah. So when I take on a new client, it really depends obviously on the individual. Everything I do is specific and tailored to you personally. That's why I call my practice RX Nutrition, because I think that
Oh, I like that.
thank you. There's so much noise out there when it comes to nutrition, whether like this is true or that's true. And we know that that's not really how it works. It's not a one size fits all. And so everything again is tailored to that person. But essentially what we do is, start with an hour-long consult. We're going to walk through your full medical history. We'll do a complete nutrition assessment. Again, we're going to really dive into a lot of questions related to your diet, nutrition, but we're also going to talk about all those other factors I hinted at that make you you. I do some different biometric testing in my office. I do some blood biomarker testing as well if it's appropriate for clients. And then we really set them up on the plan that's going to be best for them. Typically, I see clients for 3 months at a time. Of course, that can vary based on each person, but I found that is a sufficient and significant amount of time to see those truly substantial results going forward. Typically, I will see clients every 2 weeks, and there's a lot of support and accountability that goes on the back end through an app that I use as well. My whole philosophy is I never want anything to feel super overwhelming. I want to be on this journey with them. So even though we're setting seemingly simple goals to get started, they're really going to expand upon themselves as we work together. So by the end of those 3, 6 months, however long we end up working together, they can look back and see how many goals that they've set and achieved and the difference that we've made through those different testings we've done as well.
Cool. I know that the answer to most questions related to nutrition is it depends. But if somebody's looking to, let's say they're a runner, they're running 3 to 5, 6 times a week, and let's say they want to dial up their nutrition and start thinking about things more effectively, where do they begin?
It depends. I'm sure you saw that one coming.
Yep.
Foundations, first and foremost, I would say balanced meals, making sure you're getting at least 3 quality meals in a day, and that you are drinking, at least half your body weight in ounces. That's like foundation 101. We got to start there. I always tell my clients, like, once we get the foundation laid, then we can talk about specific nutrient timing, how much that needs to be, supplements, all these other things that I feel like can cause a lot of chaos out there when we are looking for nutrition information. But if we don't have that foundation laid, none of those other things are really going to take full effect anyways. So I would say start with those basics.
Totally. I worked at Insight Tracker for 10 years, and it's always the foundation that matters most, right? Like if you think about building a house, the foundation matters more than the cosmetics of the bathroom and, the marble countertops in the kitchen, right? If the floor is in shambles, then you can't even stand in the kitchen or in the bathroom or whatever. And so it's a perfect metaphor, right? Like the foundation has to be strong to support all of the other stuff. And in today's climate, there there is so much noise out there. You see all these people on Instagram and Twitter and all this stuff that proclaim to be experts because they just do a thing well, but maybe it's because they have good genes and whatnot. So how do you help somebody understand, like, how to consume nutrition related information, pun intended?
I love that analogy that you made. And I think it's so true that anywhere you look, you can find information. It's just whether or not it's credible information. I tell my clients, like, if you are listening to something, well, one, if they have questions about it specifically, bring it to me. We're going to talk through it together. But two, if there's a place where you're just feeling really confused and overwhelmed by it, stop following it. And maybe there's a place to bring it back in at some point where you've got, like you said, this foundation laid and just like a knowledge base of nutrition and what's going to be best for you. But if it's creating like too much complexity than it's worth, like, stop following it, or take the information to someone who is credible and you can trust their expertise in it to kind of hash through the information with.
Definitely. You also have a specialty in women's health and disordered eating, as you've talked about. Do you think we're going in the right direction in 2025 with those two topics? Do you think that it's being discussed in the right way? Is the information coming out? Like, is there enough research happening? Curious your thoughts on, like, directionally where we're headed.
Yeah, I definitely think so in the women's health space. I've been really amazed by, honestly, the bulk of my clientele coming from pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause. And I think from what I've heard time and time again is women saying, I never really got this help previously or didn't know it was available until now that people are starting to talk about it and the resources are out there. And so I'm really grateful to be in that space. As someone who is kind of walking through that same stage of life myself, it's really, again, special to have the education and expertise in the area, but also be able to relate personally. So I would say absolutely in that area. And then as far as disorder eating and eating disorder, I agree. I think unfortunately there's still a stigma surrounding that space, but just like anything in life, it's a coping mechanism. We all have those. It's just turning them into the healthier versions as we can. And so I think we need to talk about it more. I'm grateful to have a space to share my own personal journey and struggles with that and how I've been set free from it. And my hope is to, encourage other individuals in the next generation to do the same, because I think it's way more common than we're led to believe. And yeah, I want people to know that there is freedom from it. We just have to talk about it. And that's how we can get through it together.